So, chatters.
How's everyone doing?
Yeah, how are y'all doing today? Are you all excited for the show? Did you do your homework? Now, don't panic, chat. If you didn't do your homework, I know a lot of you, we'll touch on that later, but homework is a very scary word for a lot of us. I have a lot of anxiety about the word homework. But remember, this homework it's not like the kind of homework that your teacher berates you for and calls your parents and makes a big deal about. This is more of activities for us to do in real life, and then we can check in with each other and try to hold each other, give ourselves a little accountability buddy.
It's not algebra. It's not algebra. You can calm down,
Yeah, it's not algebra.
It's not that bad.
It wasn't last week, but we'll see.
All the Fez in chat say yo.
We got looks like Pixel Cooker did their homework. Someone said, what was it? Someone just finished their homework.
Oh, baby.
Oh, nice.
Honestly, if you finish your homework during the stream, you can also do that. It's not too late
That's
to
true.
join a union chat. So
That is true.
Exclamation
We're gonna
point
do the
IWW. That's the
Yeah.
easiest one to join. Just
We'll
join
do
the
the
IWW.
check. Speaking of the IWW, I had, and I think I already shared this in the Shadowy Cabal,
You did.
the secret mod chat, but someone from the IWW reached out,
Oh, that's
and they
Ooh.
are going to come on organizing interviews, and I'm going to get them on Red Planet as well, and they're going to chat to us all about organizing your workplace, organizing
How
your
good is that,
community.
chat?
How
Good
awesome,
Good
is
as
that?
chat.
fuck.
Oh,
Right?
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, look, we got someone, a highlighted message. Sophie, my trans cousin from Glasgow, personally wants to thank you for your speech at the trans rights protest.
Can
How
you say
good is
that? Can you say that place name again, Tim?
In Glasgow?
Glasgow.
Nailed it. Perfect.
I laugh
Um,
because I totally pronounced it correctly, and it's like, ha, oh boy, you don't pronounce it correctly, and I know how it's pronounced. So I think it's so funny.
I'm gonna start asking you all to start pronouncing.
Well, it's weird. It's weird
Yeah,
because
that's
there
valid.
are
No,
three
you should do
Brits
it. We
in
should
the
get
show.
on.
Remember?
Yeah.
There's three Brits,
Oh,
and it's like weird that
God.
one of the Brits can't pronounce, Glad.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Go.
Frelad, thank you to your cousin. That's wonderful, and
Awesome.
congrats on them. Congrats to them for being them. That's just
Yes.
sick.
And Chad, if you didn't know, Sophie gave a speech and for trans rights in front of the BBC on Turf Island, no less. And it was awesome. It was part of this bigger trans activist protest, and it was pretty fucking cool. So can we get some claps in the chat? Bun clap, or if you're not a sub, bun clap F. That's for followers. You can do it if you're not a subscriber.
If people remember the horrible BBC article that was put out, basically calling trans women rapists, that's a big part of what it was about. And the full speech will be up on my channel tomorrow, so you'll see it there. That's enough of our news, though, isn't it? That's enough of our personal news.
Yeah.
What else is going on in the world outside of us?
Well, I believe you wanted to speak about. Well, not just you, but I wanted to speak about as well the situation in Kazakhstan.
I need to be educated on this, so I'm ready. I'm hyped.
Let's check in with
Yeah.
chat real quick. Chat, press 1 if you don't know what's going on in Kazakhstan,
Good point. Yeah, maybe they don't.
and then we can. I just always want to get a feel for what we're dealing with, and so people can feel a little more reflect on their lack of knowing something, so they can feel proud when they do get to know it. So.
We got a 0.8. We got a 1.5.
All right, you know what?
Some people
Those are
know a
good.
little
Ban
bit,
anyone who's-
some
We
people...
got a 2.
Ban anyone who's trying to
Good, because
decimal
there are
this.
levels.
It's-
There are levels as to what's
I
going
think,
on. In Kazakhstan. Yeah.
This 2 that we got 00 did _ money. They are actually in Kazakhstan right now, and they're
Oh shit!
Yeah. You know, it's not that they know what's going on. They're literally they're right there making it happen.
Exactly.
It's the only reason.
Right. So it's the official position of Red Planet that what states are doing around the world right now is making revolution inevitable. What we're gonna see all around the world more and more is people rising up, fighting back, very literally destroying the machinery of state, both metaphorical and literal, fucking sabotaging the equipment that is pumping carbon into the air, fighting the cops who are oppressing them, shit like this. And that's part of what we're here to do, is report on that and tell people what's going on there. And this week, a pretty perfect example of that happened in Kazakhstan, where basically there's been a mass working class uprising in the streets, flipping over cop cars and shit. Wild footage to watch. Just people just rocking and rocking, and then just turning a car the whole way over. People working together are just insane.
The thing,
just wild.
Yeah.
The thing that I wanted to know, that if you knew, Sophie, that's a bit extra about this, is that some people in Kazakhstan, working revolutionaries, have actually got a bunch of horses. And are
what?
You didn't
What's
even
this
know.
horses? Hang on, no, I don't know this bit.
They're fighting, mounted police and military
I think I saw
units.
a clip of this, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
All right,
So
well, I gotta see that.
Yeah,
Shit.
I'll try and find a clip of it now.
All right. But yeah, so when we're talking about what states are doing, that sounds a bit nebulous, right? But specifically, what the functions of capital are leading to these kinds of situations, and in the most specific, what's happening in Kazakhstan is 18% of all Bitcoin mining in the world was in Kazakhstan because they have low energy rates there, or had them. And so basically that's not Kazakh people mining Bitcoin. That's fucking foreign investors just buying up plots, buying up buildings, and pumping them full of servers, and then just having all their Bitcoin mining going on there. And it drove up not just the energy, but especially the energy. The whole cost of living in Kazakhstan went through the roof. Energy prices fucking doubled. And that's what the uprising is in response to, is literally fucking Bitcoin. But we don't want to play this off as just being a wild crypto thing. Because I've said this before. Crypto is a microcosm of capitalism, just sped the fuck up. And that's a perfect example, right? In the last couple of years, crypto moved in, all of the prices shot through the roof because of foreign investment, and now they're revolting against the government, against the state. So it's exactly what we've been describing.
Wow.
And I do want to reiterate what Sophie said, chat, about our official position, because it's not just a throwaway line. It's kind of the whole theme of this show is to acknowledge, and it's not because you don't have to be a communist for the inertia of the political situation of the world to be the inertia of the political situation of the world. You don't have to you don't have to subscribe to the ideology for the reality to manifest itself inevitably and necessarily. And the reality of our world is that it is inevitable that
literally
100%.
These are inevitable things. I mean, there's so many different scholars you can quote from, talking about what revolution is, what rioting is, MLK talking about rioting and how rioting is the the language there's all sorts of different quotes you can probably pull from to frame this, but it comes down to the fact that when you have a system that is so exploitative and it's so oppressive and it's depriving so many people, the wealth inequality and the concentration of wealth and so on and so forth has led to such a situation in which the vast majority of people are being deprived more and more of just basic necessities, dignity, beyond the necessities, just dignity. If you see in the news, the way in America, I'm an American, I can tell you that COVID here is
hang on, what the fuck? Did you guys know she was American? Fucking hell. I can't do
as
this
an
show
American
anymore. I'm fucking out.
in these United States of America, the way that our employers are treating us is just it's just despicable. And so this type of treatment, like forcing people to go to work. I know one of you in my Discord saying that you were at work today and now a couple of your coworkers have come down with COVID and you were working next to them, because you're forced to go back to work. Because this isn't it. You don't have to be a communist. You don't have to be anything for this to be certain and have a certain inertia to it to lead to a certain results. So we are here to discuss that, to help guide you, our little pog champs in the chat, through it, and to try to make a better, try to be part of building that better world.
Right. So a few things. Mules just shared the footage of the horses, and we need to see that shit on the stream.
Where can you put in the?
It's in the links there.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But the thing I'd like to lead on to is a statement by the Socialist movement of Kazakhstan on the situation in the country.
Okay, cool.
So like maybe we can look at this horse footage, but while I explain. But basically, like all that shit's going on there, and I just wanted to read a bit of their statement because it's really really fucking good and cool. Basically, like we'll talk about it more in a sec. Look at these horses.
Pretty cool, pretty based.
This is what Mule, you were telling about this before.
You don't mind being blocked off, right, y'all? You don't mind this whole thing in front of your face, right?
Whatever, it's fine. Doesn't matter.
Whatever happens. Yeah.
What about the horse thing?
Yeah, what's happening here?
Yeah, like there's not a lot of information about it. It just seems to be someone has like, you know, filmed this happening, but I don't think they're actually like fighting anyone in this clip. I think they're just getting to a protest. It might be a little bit embellished that they formed a cavalry militia or something, but you know, yeah, I mean, it stands to reason. You know, like people working in farms and stuff like that, they're gonna use everything that they can. Cops always use horses in order to intimidate people, and of course, if you know the working people have horses as well, then that's sort of one up that you've got against the state, right?
Exactly. There's a lot of people in chat who are already talking about something I want to touch on in the way into our discussion, to what the topic of the discussion is today, which is kind of like people are talking about like they have COVID and us being forced to work anyway, and we should talk a little bit about that after I read from this statement, which the link to the statement is just above what Mule posted. Nicole, if you want to put that up.
Wait, where's the statement here?
Just
above my post.
Mule's post.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, there's a group, the Socialist Movement of Kazakhstan. They're calling for international solidarity to the demonstrators and demands the withdrawal of troops from the cities. They've got a long statement. People can read it. I'll drop a link in the chat in a minute. But basically, it's pretty cool. Like it's people who really they aren't the whole entire group of people who are rebelling, but like that's kind of how this works. Like socialists are able to step in and say like, this is why people are upset. This is our demands, and people will get behind that when you make that kind of statement. So this is kind of what happens during a period like this when there's mass uprisings. And so they've made this kind of lengthy statement, but at the bottom it has, in this situation, there is a danger of violent suppression of all protests and strikes, and here it is necessary to completely paralyze the country with a general strike. Therefore, it is urgent to form unified action committees on a territorial and production basis in order to provide organized resistance to military and police terror. In this regard, the support of the entire international workers and communist movement, leftist associations, is also necessary in order to organize a large-scale campaign in the world. The Socialist Movement of Kazakhstan demands an immediate end to hostilities against our people and the withdrawal of troops from the cities, immediate resignation of all Nazarbayev officials, including President Tokayev, release of all political prisoners and detainees, ensuring the right for workers to create their own trade unions, political parties, hold strikes and meetings, legalization of the activities of the banned Communist Party of Kazakhstan and the Socialist Movement of Kazakhstan. We call on all the workers and working people of the country to implement in practice the demand of the executed oil workers of Zhanaozen, I think is how that's pronounced, to nationalize under the control of labor collectives the entire extractive and large-scale industry of the country. And there's a lot more that you could dissect there, and we're not going to have time for right now. Sort of, you know, some positives, some negatives, but like that's the statement that's been put out. Yeah.
The key takeaway is that it's quite clear that all over the world people know that capitalism is unsustainable, right? There's contingents in every single country. Doesn't matter where you go. Obviously, it's more common in countries in the imperial periphery. But yeah, you can see from this that like, yeah, it's exactly that. It's trying to galvanize the internal dynamism that these people have into following socialist ideals,
and actually
ideals,
forming and actually organizing and forming something solid, right? Like they were calling for a general strike. Like this is a thing that a lot of people, I've even seen some responses to Red Planet episode 1. Like people don't seem to think that a general strike or like being in unions or whatever is effective. It's too much of a liberal step or whatever. But you even see right here people who are in the middle of a mass uprising, and their socialist group is saying, we call on everyone in the country to like just lay down their tools, like step away from work,
Mhm.
don't give capitalism your labor until our demands are met, right?
Mhm.
And that's absolutely it, right? What are you going to say, Tony?
I just think there was something Bipunk Anarchist said in the chat here. So what you mentioned about not being a communist to see the way politics are right now reminds me of what Kwame Ture said about Marx not inventing communism. It's like the thing, right? It's like the conditions under capitalism kind of give rise to events like this, and it's like important for, you know, us as communists to kind of like seize these moments, you know, to like kind of be like, you know, like talk to your friends about it and be like, hey, look, you see what's happening to us right now?
Mhm.
Like, you know, like I can explain this to you. I can tell you why it's happening and what we can do about it. And also kind of like, I mean, and even, you know, like Marx's whole thing about like there's a specter haunting Europe and that's communism or whatever like that. Like these things are like, they're building up everywhere. And yeah, I mean, it's like the thing. It's like the, what is it? The Morpheus quote about the, you know,
oh my gosh, I tweeted about it. The one where it's damn it, Morpheus, not everyone believes what you believe. And he goes, my beliefs do not require them to. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about it before stream, you know? Like, that's exactly what I was thinking, you know?
It's the most definitional thing, Yeah,
It's like, we don't, you know, like, obviously, like, when things like this happen, like, not everyone that is, like, rising up is a communist or whatever like that. But as communists, we can be like, hey, you know, like, like, instead of just having this one little, you know, like one strike isolated from the rest of things, we can help people see things in like the bigger picture and kind of you know, like I think it's a good time to radicalize people around events like this. And I think that like it's important for people to see these not just as like you know, like kind of one-off kind of like, you know, looking at Kazakhstan by itself, what's happening there, but as like a global thing about like all these things are happening all around the world, and through things like, you know, like dialectical materialism, we can look at, you know, we're like we can see why these things are happening and how they're all linked, and we can kind of provide guidance, I would say, from there.
And that's really big, right? They're stepping into there, like there's this mass uprising, and they're just being like, look guys, like this is what you are upset about, this is the stuff we should be organizing around. It is the definition of my beliefs do not require them all to believe what I believe, right? Because I'm just right about this stuff. Like I am just right about what's gonna happen. And it also applies to what's going on this show right here. Like we're saying this shit is inevitable. We said that last week. In the time between episode 1 and episode 2, what fucking happened?
And I mean that's like the thing when we look at you know, like the lenses that that we have to look at the world through, like things like, you know, dialectical materialism, historical materialism, things like that. You can't, like, it's not like predicting the future, but it tells you, it like gives you an idea of like what the possibilities are and like the kind of like the direction we're heading, and you know, you can and you can make predictions, and it's like even on a like a smaller scale, you can see like, you know, before Bernie did his presidential run, there were things that he was saying were going to happen and all this kind of stuff about like what's going to happen to American workers, and it all happened. And you know, it's like this is this is a thing, right? Like you gotta be able to show people that what we're talking about isn't just like you know, it's not like just a way of organizing a government or something like that. It's like this is like, these are tools that we use to analyze, you know, like the world, labor relations, our, you know, our means our relationships to capital, our relationship to production, all these kind of things like that. And these tools give us foresight into what, you know, what could happen. It's not like, you know, we're not like fucking huffing the spice and seeing infinite futures or anything like that. But you know, like it is like they are tools to they are tools to help us make predictions about what could happen.
Yeah, they are, absolutely. And it's to clarify, like you said, like it's not predicting the future, but it also kind of can do that, right? It's like, so this leads perfectly into the discussion that I wanted to like bridge between there and our topic for the day, right? So loads of people in chat were talking just now about being sick with COVID, or like being forced back. I saw somebody say they were forced back into work because they tested negative, but they just and they are sick right now, but they've been forced into work, right? So this is part of America trying to discipline the labor force, like discipline the workforce, discipline labor. We need to have a conversation. Maybe we'll do a full episode on this as well, but like about governments trying to discipline labor. After the 2008 financial crash, right, America and the UK, tons of governments had austerity measures. And the thinking that like was public and kind of like people kind of understood as if it was like common sense, but as Gramsci said, like common sense is the ideology of the ruling class, like is like everything's tough, we all need to tighten our belts, and everyone kind of bought into that shit. But like if you know economics, that's fucking nonsense. Like the government can actually print money, they can do a bunch of shit if they want to, right? And
not only they do it all the time.
Yeah,
with
right,
quantitative easement.
Absolutely.
Right now, just for COVID, let alone other things like bailing out banks and just generally speaking, giving Elon Musk grants and shit, like whatever.
And so, like, austerity isn't actually a response to things being tight and there not being enough to go around. Of course it isn't. There's always enough to fucking go around. It's a response to people being driven out of work and having a moment to reflect, hey, maybe I could just not work. And they do these austerity measures to force people to go back into work. The cutting down of the welfare state, for example, is a really deliberate attack on people's ability to not be in work. And that's what's fucking going on with COVID right now. Loads and loads of people. Anti-work is the biggest growing subreddit, right? And it's a huge movement, and loads of people are realizing that they could not work and realizing that a better world is possible. And like, they're trying to discipline labor. Like a really good example of this is Jen Psaki said in December, she was asked about the economy being bad, and what they meant by that was people are refusing to take shitty minimum wage jobs where they're going to catch COVID and fucking die so that you can get your hamburger, right? And she was like, the economy will get better in January when people run out of their savings and they get desperate. Now, I want to pause on a moment just to say, like, admitting that you're a fucking psychopath, Jen, admitting that you're an actually evil piece of shit, like just admitting that American imperialism is like the bad guy of a movie, actually. But like,
that's like such a showing of hand, right?
Oh yeah,
surely, right? But that fits into what I'm talking about, disciplining labor. Like they are literally like treating the working class like misbehaving children. And like they'll get desperate, and then they'll do it, and like. Everyone here remembers, right, that they were promising a Build Back Better program, right? They were promising to like to improve stuff and give people more stuff after Trump's horrific treatment. Where's that gone?
Yeah.
Has anyone noticed that isn't going through? Yeah, it's because they're disciplining labor. They're going to turn towards austerity measures instead, and that's going to be maybe a topic that we can discuss more at length another time, like how to organize to resist that, because that's going to be a big like name of the game. But like one of the first steps in understanding it is mutual aid, right?
Yes.
Topic for the day.
Yeah, we got there. Yeah, like how our communities can basically look after each other without a need for the welfare state, without like relying on the state to give us these things, because they simply won't. As Sophie said, through punishment of the working class. And I just want to point out as well about the Kazakhstan stuff. Like, you just going back to that, you might find some people who are saying stuff like, people are mad because fuel prices have gone up, right, and trying to sort of like reduce it down to that. But it's important to remember there's a figure here. The average salary in Kazakhstan is the equivalent of $570 a month, and a lot of people earn a lot less. So it's exactly the same thing that's happening across the globe. People are just not earning enough money for a good life, basically. So anyway, back to mutual aid.
What's a little clip playing?
Yeah, what's this?
I don't know. Casey Explosion gave it to me, and I'm just playing it without audio, and I have no idea what this clip is, by the way.
Well, should we watch it?
I don't know.
A little surprise from Casey.
I think it's just a meme. I think it's just a hammersickle meme.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Speaking of watching stuff, though, should we watch Tim's vid? Because I feel like that could be a good primer.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Right.
Just Tim, really quick before we get too far off the topic, I wanted to mention something really briefly with regards to the demands of that we were reading from.
The socialist movement in Kazakhstan,
the socialist movement in Kazakhstan. I remember I was part of the the creation of the Chaz in Seattle. So if y'all recall the protests for that I don't want to call them George Floyd protests, but the protests that started really got sparked because of George Floyd's lynching. I was a part of a lot of those, and I remember that I was trying to get introduced. I was getting introduced to a lot of like, a lot of the concept that we're talking about. It was kind of my first real glimpse into those types of things. And so I remember we did a lot of protesting. The cops were just awful. We ended up protesting for so long, the cops ended up leaving the area, and they boarded up the precinct, and then we established the Chaz, and like the whole world saw that as this. Some people made fun of it, and I still don't know what to make of the entire thing. It was a really interesting experience.
We might do an episode. I have another friend who is involved with Chaz, and
really?
Maybe we can get her on, and we can have.
Oh my god,
we
would.
Back and forth
yeah, that'd be great.
It would be pretty cool.
That'd be super cool. Yeah. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is I remember us all getting together at night and talking about the demands. We had this list of demands, and people were like saying, "These are the demands we have," and announcing them and saying like these are like defunding the police at this amount, and so on and so forth, like different demands. And I remember the thing that we held in like the leverage that we were like showcasing was like, we will keep protesting until. And sorry, that didn't work. And the reason it didn't work is, we can have a whole conversation about that, but it's largely because there's no real teeth behind it. Like, people going out in the street and yelling about a thing is becoming kind of commonplace in America at the very least. And I'm not trying to undermine the usefulness of protest, but I do want to point out how much the teeth behind a general strike. There is no waiting for the public to empathize with your cause, to decide to start passing a thing because they feel so bad, or you're in the middle of traffic, so they have to move you, and that's getting annoying. A general strike is like, there is no other choice but to like agree to the demands that you're making.
Absolutely.
Because there is no other. It's it. And so I just really want to point that out. That I know that maybe some of us have some of our hope has been kind of squashed by perhaps the protests, because we thought something should have happened. We're making all these demands to defund the police. We're seeing that that's not happening. I thought that this would be enough. I don't really believe that there's any more we can do, and that's not true. It's not true even in the least bit. And want to make sure I say that.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It's a lot easier to communicate things to your fellow, working people, like, we're not getting paid enough and our quality of life is shit, rather than trying to break down the whole theory, like, you don't have to read Das Kapital to them kind of thing. You can just be like, yo, it sucks that we don't have a good life,
Yeah, totally. Yeah.